Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we are going to learn how to solve this problem. But before we begin, please subscribe for more updates. Once upon a time, in a dense forest lived a little rabbit named Hopscotch. Hopscotch was a curious and playful rabbit, always hopping around the forest floor and sniffing out new adventures. One day, while playing near the riverbank, he saw something unusual. It was a small wooden boat floating in the water, moving up and down with the current. Intrigued by this unusual sight, Hopscotch hopped closer to take a look. As he got nearer, he noticed that the boat was empty, yet it seemed to be moving under its own power. At first, he thought it might be a trick of the light, or perhaps a figment of his imagination. But as he continued to watch, he realized that the boat was indeed sailing all by itself. At first, Hopscotch felt a mix of fear and excitement. Fear because he had never seen anything like it before, and excitement at the prospect of a new adventure. Curiosity got the better of him, and he decided to follow the boat. He quickly hopped into the water and began swimming after it. As the boat floated further up the river, Hopscotch struggled to keep up. The current was strong and he began to feel tired. Just when he thought he couldn't swim anymore, the boat suddenly stopped. It had reached a small sandy beach on the other side of the river. Hopscotch, exhausted but determined, managed to paddle himself to the shore. There, to his surprise, he saw a little girl sitting on a nearby rock. She was about the same age as Hopscotch, with long flowing hair and sparkling eyes. When she saw Hopscotch, she smiled and said, "Well, hello there. Are you lost?" Hopscotch, still catching his breath from the swim, replied, "I was playing near the riverbank when I saw your boat floating by. I wanted to see where it was going, so I followed it." The girl laughed and said, "This is no ordinary boat. It's magic, and I'm its captain. Would you like to go on an adventure with me?" Hopscotch hesitated for a moment. On one hand, he was eager to explore, but on the other, he was a bit scared. With a deep breath, he decided to go for it. He said, "Okay, I'll go with you, but only for a little while." The girl smiled and said, "That's all I ask. Now, hop aboard." Hopscotch carefully got into the boat, and the girl gave him a life vest to wear. Then she started singing a strange song, and the boat began to move. It sailed up the river, past the trees and bushes, and soon they were in a part of the river that Hopscotch had never seen before. On one side of the river was a tall, thick wall made of stones, and on the other side, the river flowed into a large lake. "How do we get through the wall?" asked Hopscotch, feeling a bit overwhelmed. The girl smiled mysteriously and said, "Don't worry, I know just what to do." She took a deep breath and sang another magical song. The boat started to glow, and when the light faded, they were on the other side of the river. Hopscotch gasped in amazement. He had never seen anything like this before. The boat had simply vanished. The girl, seeing his astonishment, explained, "This is the Wishing River. It has magical powers and can take us anywhere we want to go." She turned to Hopscotch and asked, "Now tell me, what is your wish? Where do you want to go?" Hopscotch thought for a moment. He had never been so close to the Wishing River before and didn't really know what to wish for. Suddenly, he remembered his mother mentioning a beautiful garden filled with delicious berries and juicy fruits. It was said to be located somewhere beyond the river. Hopscotch quickly said, "I want to see the Enchanted garden. Can we go there, please?" The girl nodded and said, "Of course. Close your eyes and hold on tight." Hopscotch squeezed his eyes shut and wrapped his arms around the mast as the boat sailed away. After what felt like a long time, but was probably only a few minutes, the girl said, "Open your eyes, Hopscotch." He slowly opened them to see the most beautiful sight. They had reached the Enchanted garden. Flowers of all colors imaginable lined the path leading to a magnificent castle in the distance. The air was filled with the sweet scent of roses and honeysuckle, and the sound of birdsong echoed all around. Hopscotch couldn't believe his eyes. It was even more beautiful than his mother had described. Before he could say a word, the girl hopped out of the boat and started running towards the castle. Hopscotch, without hesitation, jumped out and began chasing her. They ran through the garden, over a small bridge, and up a hill until they reached the castle. The doors were open, so they went inside. Inside the castle was a cozy living room with a roaring fire in the hearth. On the table were plates of food and a pitcher of water. Hopscotch and the girl sat down to eat. As they ate, they talked about many things, including the magical wishing river and the incredible garden they had explored. After a while, the girl stood up and said, "It's time for me to go. Thank you for coming on this adventure with me, Hopscotch." Hopscotch, who was a bit sad to see her go, asked, "Can I come visit you again?" The girl smiled and said, "Of course. All you need to do is return to the riverbank at sunset and call my name. I'll be waiting." Hopscotch nodded, knowing he would never forget this magical day. He walked her to the door and watched as she disappeared into the sunset. As the sun began to set, Hopscotch raced back to the riverbank. He could hear the gentle lapping of the water and see the last rays of sunlight reflecting off the surface. He called out, "Captain, Captain!" but there was no reply. He waited for a while, but the boat was nowhere to be seen. Disappointed, he flopped down on the riverbank and sighed. Suddenly, he heard a familiar voice behind him. "Looking for this?" Hopscotch turned around to see the girl holding his life vest. She had returned to give it back to him. Hopscotch, relieved and happy, thanked her. And as the last rays of sunlight disappeared below the horizon, the girl and her magical boat vanished once again, leaving Hopscotch with a heart full of wonder and a life vest full of memories. From that day on, Hopscotch never looked at the river the same way again. He knew that with a little bit of magic and a lot of courage, anything was possible. And though he never saw the girl or her boat again, he always believed that their friendship would last forever. After all, the greatest adventures are often found in the most unexpected places, and sometimes all it takes is a curious mind and a willingness to explore the unknown. So whenever you find yourself on an ordinary day, remember the story of Hopscotch and the magical boat, and with a little imagination, you can turn any river into a wishing river, and any garden into an enchanted garden. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe and leave a comment below with your favorite character. We will pick a few comments to read on our social media. See you next time.